This video was sponsored by One Nest Studios. Elevate your sound. If you're looking for a studio that is reasonably priced to record your music, podcasts, etc., then you cannot go wrong with One Nest Studios. Contact the number down below or the email address or visit their website for more details. Thank you. Hi, this is my video on the UCHOICE selfie stick tripod. Now, this particular tripod selfie stick is very unusual, but I'll go into that in a minute. Now, it is sold on Amazon by a company called UCHOICE, but obviously on the box here it says Selfie is the main company that makes this particular selfie stick tripod. Now, the unique thing about this selfie stick tripod, other than it has a remote and also it has a tripod legs to it, and you're able to take landscape and portrait photos, is it has a built-in stabilizer gimbal into it. Now, the gimbal that's built into this only stabilizes on the horizontal axis, not the vertical. So it's a one-axis gimbal that's built in, but I'll go into that now later on. Now, around the whole box, as you can see, it's all in Chinese, so I'll just roughly go through, because I don't know Chinese, but just going by the pictures. It holds phones in landscape, but it can hold them in portrait. It has a Bluetooth remote control. It has tripod legs and storage for the remote. It can shoot in landscape and portrait, and it can extend. And on the back here says the same things. It does do a 360-degree turn on there. It has an 800 milliamp battery. That's in the actual stabilizer unit. Same again, it can extend, tripod legs and portrait and landscape. And that particular bit, I do not know what that is supposed to be. Anyway, so I'll go back around. Now, in the box, this is what we get. We get a cleaning cloth with the logo from UCHOICE. We have a micro USB to standard regular size USB cable, and that's to charge the gimbal unit, and also just underneath there is the remote, so that charges that. We have the selfie stick gimbal itself here, and we have a instruction leaflet, and as you can see on there it says One Axis Handheld Gimbal Stabilizer, and it's the user manual. Now, when you get this item, please go through this manual to calibrate the gimbal. Now, I had to go through several times to do this calibration. When you get it, it is calibrated, but if you lose calibration, to go through the procedure is a bit fiddly. Now, I'll run through the selfie stick itself now. As you can see, the selfie stick has a double joint here. That is very unusual for a selfie stick tripod. They normally have this unit here that holds the phone mount, is normally held here on this section here, but as you can see, it has a double one, and that's so it can be able to be folded down and you can put it at an angle, more acute. Now, this simply folds out. You loosen these so-called thumb screws here, and this can able to fold out. And as you can see, that's the gimbal top there, and it has a 360-degree turn on it. Now, I'll go through from the bottom and work up to the top. We have tripod legs here as you can see, with a bit of rubber on the end of each tripod leg, and they clip in together. Now they are made of plastic, and quite a thick plastic, so it doesn't feel cheap. It feels well built, I'll give it that. It does feel well built, and there is no rubber on the actual legs itself. It has this kind of matte type finish, so it doesn't got a shiny finish, it's a matte type finish. We have the top part here which holds it, which is plastic. It may look metal, but it's plastic. Next we have the shutter button here, which is able to be pulled out. Now, to connect the shutter button, I'll come on to that later, to your phone. It's a Bluetooth shutter button, and you also can recharge the shutter button using the cable here. So that recharges this, so you don't have to replace a battery. But in the manual, it does not state how many milliamps this particular battery is in there, but it takes 1 hour to charge it. Then we have the actual stem itself here, which is in a kind of gunmetal purple grey colour with black accents on there, which is quite nice. And then we have the top here, which is this I would say this kind of thumb screw mount here, which you can tighten and loosen. And then that comes up to the next part up here, which is the same. And then we have the actual gimbal on top here, and the motor is built within inside here. Now on this side, and I'll bring it close to the camera here, that is your on and off button for the gimbal. So you have to put the phone in and then press that, and that will balance your phone to switch it on, switch the gimbal on. And on the other side here, we have LEDs. Now, I think the top LED will light up blue when it's on. The second LED lights up red, then goes off when charging. And we have, just under this rubber flap here, turn that round, we have the charging point here for the USB cable, and it's an 800 milliamp battery in there, giving between 8 to 10 hours of usage time with this. Now, as for the mount, we have a plastic base here. It is all plastic, made out of plastic, with a spring-loaded grip here, which has rubber accents or pieces, grips on either side, with an extra lip on there. Now, I've tested this phone out, this gimbal selfie stick out. Now, you can get away with large phones on this, no problem. It can handle any of these modern day large phones. This is an iPhone 7, and I have got on here a gripping case, and this fits into here. So providing that you've got a thin to medium thickness case, it will fit in here just under those grips here. So you can leave the case on. Now, when you first get this, I suggest that you charge the shutter button up for at least 1 hour, and when you charge it, it will have just above the shutter button here, you'll see a red LED light, and that red LED light will stay on while it's charging, and then it will shut off when it is finished charging, indicating that the battery is now fully charged. Now, to pair with your phone, you simply press down on this button, and this will turn blue and flash blue, and it will come up on your phone under the Bluetooth setting as AB Shutter 3. Now you'll see that under Bluetooth. Now if you're using Android, make sure that your phone is in a discoverable mode to see this Bluetooth. but it will come up as AB shutter free. And once you connect to it, there's no pairing number whatsoever. Once you connect to it, that's it. You'll press connect and this light will go out. Well, as you can see, it will go out, but from time to time it will flash. Now to switch it off, it's a long press. Now to switch this off, you simply press on it. It's a long press and the blue light will come on and then it will disconnect. Now it's just disconnected because the battery life is, I haven't fully charged this up, but I've been using it for quite a while, so I've ran down the battery on this, but that's how it will connect. Now while I'm charging the shutter button, it sits in this nice cradle here, which has two grooves on either side to hold it in, and then the top part of the mount here, when it comes down, locks it into place. It will stay locked in even when this is up, but that's just to reassure it that it locks in. Now to fit your phone in, we simply get your phone, make sure that the switch button is on top. So the on button for the gimbal part is at the top, and you simply slide your phone in and down, and then that's it. Your phone is in there. Now, just like with any other gimbal that you have to balance the phone or camera what you put it onto the gimbal. Now it's the same way with this, so you have to keep balancing it to when it actually gets the phone to the center like so. And then once you've done that, now once you get your phone, I've turned it around the other way now. Now once you get your phone balanced almost to the horizontal, it doesn't have to be dead on but near to it, we press the button and you should hear a sound, and then it will balance the phone. Now as I said before, when you switch that on, leave it for about at least a couple of seconds and it should balance the phone straight. But now the gimbal is on and now it's balancing the phone in a horizontal, on the horizontal axis. Now I turn the phone back round and I'll just show you by holding it. Now I'm actually holding it, and this is why you've got a double joint on here, so you can actually, it spaces it away from the actual selfie stick as well, and then you can actually see. Now that's how it is balancing the phone at the moment, and I can actually move the handle round and it will keep the phone on the horizontal. Obviously the vertical, it does not balance with that. It just does the horizontal, as you can see, and it will hold the phone along the horizontal axis. It doesn't really state the actual length this selfie stick gimbal tripod, that's what I'm going to call it, extends out to. So I've measured it, and like with all my other videos, and I always say this, manufacturers give the actual length of a selfie stick or action pole measured from the very top to the very bottom, and they call that the actual length, extension length of the pole. Now I don't go by that, because to me that's a bit false, because you have the unit, which is either a camera or a phone at the top, and that takes up some inches, and then you've got the handle where you've got to hold, and that takes up some inches. And to me, them parts don't extend. The actual extension part is the actual stem itself. And with this one, between these 2 points here, it extends out to 14.5 inches between these 2 points. Now, because I had to show you that, I had to switch the gimbal head unit off to show you that. So if you see the phone flopping around, it's because the gimbal head is being switched off. Now, to show you about the pole, As I said before, it's in a kind of gunmetal purple, if you get that colour, with black plastic accents on there, which does give it a kind of premium looking feel to it with this particular colour. And that is made out of aluminium, and we have a seam on the front here and also a seam on the back to give it added strength. Now you have to bear it in mind with this, because it's got a motor on the actual phone mount here, which is the gimbal. It makes this particular selfie stick tripod very top heavy. So when you take this out and you extend it out, you'll actually feel a lot of weight coming from the top. So it's very, very top heavy. Now, as I showed you before, when we're gonna switch on the gimbal, you press the top button here, and you should hear a noise. And that's it. The gimbal now is in horizontal mode. Remember, it only stabilizes the actual phone in a horizontal position, not on the vertical. So it will keep the phone aligned to the horizon, as you can see. As I'm turning it from side to side, the phone will be on the horizontal, but the vertical is not stabilized. So bear that in mind with this. So it's only a one-axis gimbal. Now, I would love to show you some pictures how this actually looks like, but at the present moment in England, it has been chucking it down, and it's been in a storm. We've had one weekend of storm, then another weekend, and this is the third weekend of storm that we're having. So I can't even really show you this, and most of me trying this out basically all this week was basically in my house. So because the rain was just chucking it down. So I wish I could show you pictures, but for stabilization on the horizontal, it is very, very good for stabilization. Otherwise, on the vertical, it is just like any other selfie stick tripod. It's just like any other selfie stick. There is no difference in there. Now, another thing I'm going to show you is, at the moment, you see it, that it's stabilizing in the horizontal with the phone in landscape. Now, you may say, how about I want it for Instagram pictures or Instagram movies, where you want it in a kind of portrait. You want the phone in a portrait position. Now, it's very easy, even with the gimbal on. With the gimbal on still, all you've got to do is just press down on the corner of the phone, what I'm doing here, and there it automatically will now turn the phone in the portrait position, and now it will still stabilize in the horizontal in the portrait position. As you can see, it still does that. Now I've got to do it from side to side just to show you that it just keeps it on the horizon. Now, if you want to take it back to a landscape position, all you do is simply push on the corner here, and as you can see, it turns it back and stabilizes it back in the horizontal position. So it's just that simple. Now I've got the shutter button charged up now. Now on this test now, I'm going to show you if the shutter button mutes. There it is. If the shutter button here mutes the sound when taking a picture, because some shutter buttons, Bluetooth shutter buttons, mute and some don't. They mute the sound. So if I press this shutter button, let's see if we can hear the sound. And it doesn't mute the sound, and as you can see there, it took the picture. So now I'm going to put it into video, and we'll see, this should, there it is, that circle should turn to a square when I press the shutter button, and we should hear a sound when it's going to make a video. So I'm going to press it, and that's it, it's recording, and I'm gonna stop the recording, and that's it. So it doesn't mute the sound, as you heard yourself. Now, a couple of things about this, which I'm going to show you later on. Now, as you can see, I have got the legs fully extended out, and also the stem fully extended out. Now, just in case people want to know how long it is, 26 inches from the top to the bottom. Now, if you're looking at this and you're thinking it's slightly off kilter, that is perfectly straight. I've put a very, very small, you get these from Ring doorbells, a bubble leveler, and that is perfectly level. So I think around here is a bit of on a slight tilt. So it's not the fault of the selfie stick tripod. It is actually probably the flooring has got a slight little kind of gradient on this flooring. So this is perfectly straight. It's just that the flooring is slightly. So if it looks a bit lopsided, it's not the fault of the selfie stick. Anyway, back onto this. This to me is more suitable indoors if you're going to have it with the legs spread open like that, and it's in a standing position. Obviously, you can either use it on the floor or on a table or on a work surface. That's no problem. But it's, to me, this is more suitable for indoors because of the motor in the phone clamp at the top makes this really top heavy. So if you bring this outside, even if you tethered it, it will blow over. The slightest bit of breeze, it will blow this over because it's such, along with your phone, it is really top heavy. So be aware of that. Now, as for the base of this, it doesn't, to me, stand on a very wide base at all. Its footprint is very small, and I don't know because it's this particular one and the rest of them are not like this. This could have been made on a Friday evening at the factory, but it seems that it doesn't, all three legs don't spread out equally. It could be just that it's this particular one, and the rest of them, if you was to buy one, it spreads out equally. It's just this is a one-off. But looking at it this close up, it doesn't look like the legs spread out quite evenly, and it sits on a very narrow base. That's why, as I said again, this is meant to be indoors if it's fully extended like this. Now, when you fully close it down, you cannot have the legs out because the central part here kind of sets these legs off apart. It's a slightly a bit longer if you know what I mean. It doesn't make this sit down on all three legs at all. So if you're going to have it closed up, it will not be like this. You're going to have to hand hold this. Now here's the tricky part, which I had to do several times to understand this. Now this is how you calibrate the gimbal. Now if you, on the picture, it shows the gimbal head like that, but if you look at all the other pictures about installing your phone and etc., it shows it like that without the stem. They just couldn't be bothered to put the whole picture of the stem in there. So to calibrate it, basically you lie the gimbal down like so with your phone in the horizontal position, or like here, how it is here in the landscape position. You press the button up here 5 times in a row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You'll hear a noise. You don't touch it. After 10 seconds, you'll hear the same noise again, and it's calibrated. Now, this is my 2 pence worth about the UCHOICE /Fossey gimbal selfie stick tripod. Now you can pick up this from Amazon for around £37, and I've got to tell you to correct myself. It extends out, because they did leave it, I did find it. It does extend. Their manufacturers state that the actual full length of this is 29 inches. But as I said, as I showed you, the actual extension length here is 15.5 or 14.5 as stated inches that it actually extends to. Now, to me, this is a lot of money for a selfie stick tripod, which is mainly all plastic with no kind of rubber on the gripping on there whatsoever, and it only stabilizes in the horizontal. Personally, there are other manufacturers such as DJI and Zion that make dedicated gimbals for mobile phones, which Zion do a small version. Their smallest gimbal, I cannot remember what the name is, that name has escaped me, but that's only another extra £40 more, and it balances the phone very quickly. It has less trouble and it folds down just as compact as this, and that is a dedicated gimbal because those gimbals stabilize on 2 axes, the horizontal and the vertical. So to me, that would be more worth buying than this. Not to say that this is rubbish, but I think for the price it's a bit steep. Now, for the weight of this thing, without your phone on there, it weighs 118 grams. As I stated before, it has a 800 lithium ion battery inside. It doesn't state what the battery is inside the shutter unit at all, but the shutter unit takes an hour to charge. The gimbal head takes slightly a bit more, just over an hour and 15 minutes or an hour and a half to charge the gimbal head fully. At the gimbal head, you'll get between 8 to 10 hours of usage with the gimbal head if you was to leave it continuously running. So that's what you'll get out of the gimbal head. Now, I'll give you some of the my negatives about this. First of all, even though it's built okay, it does feel plasticky. They should have put a bit more grip on it. I know they made it matte while leaving the rest of it in a kind of gloss, but they've left this matte. This should have had a bit of rubber on the handle. I like how they put the rubber on the feet, but they should have put rubber on the handle. As for the joints up here, what holds the head, the gimbal head and that, I like, to me, the disadvantages with these are, if you over tighten this, because of the plastic that it's made, you will crack it. So be careful of that, because I've tightened this and I could hear it starting to crack. So beware of that. The gimbal head makes this very top heavy even without your phone. So once you've put your phone in there, especially if you've got a larger phone than an iPhone 7, any of the Plus phones, XL phones, XR phones, Maxes, whatever, once you put them in here, this fully outstretched becomes very, very top heavy. So you have to bear that in mind. As for an everyday use as a selfie stick tripod, personally, no. It's too much of a delicate item for that. As I said, I would prefer to buy a dedicated gimbal for your mobile phone rather than this. And the price of this unit to me is set a bit too high. This should be at the most into the 20s rather than into the 30s, coming up to the £40 mark for an item like this. Another negative is the actual spread of these legs. And as you can see here, just by showing you, and I'll move over there, this, when these are spread out, is too long. So if you want to stand this up like that to get it, you're going to have to push some of it out like so. So this can be spread out if you want it at this height. Now when it's fully extended out, as I showed you before in the video, this is not suitable for outdoor use. If you're going to have the legs spread out and you place this on the ground or on a tabletop outside, the slightest bit of wind that catches this, even a light breeze, will topple this over because of the weight of the head up here along with your phone. So that's a negative to me. It's nice for indoor use, so that will give it a positive for indoor use. It's brilliant for that because it will keep, if there's any slight vibration, if you've got this on a table or whatever, it will hold your video on the horizontal really straight. So that's good for that. I'll go on to the positives now. That was one of the positives. The other positive is I like the idea that they've just took an ordinary selfie stick and gave it a nice gimbal head on there. What they should have thought about was the motor in this and given this more lengthier, longer legs and more beefed up legs to cope with this head on top along with your phone. If they did that, this would be all right. Another positive is I liked how they gave this a double joint at the top here, while most selfie sticks and even action poles, it's only one point of actual bend in it here. They gave it two, which is quite good because then you can turn this into whatever acute angle that you really need it for. So that is really brilliant. I like how they supplied these kind of thumb screws on there to tighten and loosen more than just let them be hidden on either side, so you couldn't make any adjustment. So that is good, and I like that. I liked how the shutter button is rechargeable along with the head, and they both use the same cord. That's absolutely brilliant. I like that, so you don't have to worry about if the battery goes dead, you have to bring a spare battery. You just simply charge this up with a battery pack or whatever, or by the mains. That's brilliant. It still uses USB, micro USB, which there is a ton of cords around, and you can practically get that micro USB cords from anywhere. So that's nice. Another positive would be the ends of the feet ends here. They do put rubber on the ends and they do clip in, which is very nice. And last and not least, how they give you a cleaning cloth. I know it's only a little trivia thing, but at least they gave you a cleaning cloth with their logo on and their name on, which is better than most manufacturers, because even GoPro with their selfie sticks and Sandmark and the others I've lost off the top of my head, and Smart Tree do not even give you one of these. So I like that. So that's quite good. So all in all, it is not a bad selfie stick tripod with a gimbal on it. It is not bad. It's just that the price to me is a little bit too steep for what they're selling it for, and the price needs to come down. But as I stated again, if you're going to go for something with a gimbal to steady your shots, especially when you're taking a video, I would suggest that you go for a dedicated smartphone gimbal, either from DJI or from Zhiyun, and there's a couple of others out there. I would go for that. I would save your money up and go for that rather than this. Now, if you happen to have this particular selfie stick gimbal selfie stick tripod, please let us know what you think about it, because your opinions are different to my opinions. So please let us know down in the comments. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you don't, give it a thumbs down. I perfectly understand. My videos are long and I like to be thorough in there to save you the time in buying this and then realizing, oh, he was right. This does not feel good and blah, blah, blah. And I like to do it like that. So I like to make my videos like that. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. Please put a like and also please subscribe. And thanks for watching.